What's up, GoBundance? This is Jamie Gruber sitting in for Pat Hyben on the GoBundance podcast. And I'm happy today to be joined by none other than Travis Dillard. He is a CEO of a telecommunications company, real estate investor, and of course, a GoBundance brother. Travis, welcome. Glad to have you here, man.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. Let's get into you. We were talking a little bit before, and I got a lot of interesting nuggets. I feel like we should have recorded that. There was a lot there. But give me your backstory. Take us back to maybe, where were you born and bring us up through today.
Sure. I'm an Oregonian. I was born in Hillsboro, moved to a small town called Hood River when I was about one. And Hood River in those days, in the late 70s, I'm 43. But in those days, it was a agricultural logging town, very blue collar. Just small town life. Ended up moving in with my dad when I was in middle school. He's worked 2 shifts at the mill, and it was that sort of life, right? And it was a great life. It was my best buddy. Graduated high school in '95. I enlisted in the Air Force, and so I did 4 years active duty in the Air Force. Traveled to some beautiful places like Bahrain and United Arab Emirates, and spent my last year in Korea. I was in combat communications. Got out there at 22. Worked for some tech companies as a communications kind of technician, right, for networking and voice over IP, phone systems, and those types of things, and ended up trying to start started my first little company when I was probably 23 years old, and that failed miserably, and I learned a lot of really great lessons along the way, and worked. But while I did that, I actually had to move into the sales world. So I got out of the tech space because I realized the phone doesn't ring. You actually have to pick up the phone and make calls and drive business. We're a B2B company. And so I kind of stayed in the sales world, sales management for other companies, and then went to work for a company called Inflow Systems in 2006. I wasn't the owner. I was just a sales guy. Previous owner ran that to the ground, completely insolvent. So there was just a handful of employees, so I took the company. I didn't say I took it over. We reincorporated, hired the employees, cashed out my life savings of $25,000, and then borrowed against my condo that I lived in $25,000. $50,000 covered basically half a payroll for some of the employees that we kept on. We reincorporated. Everybody went home and started working from their house, and it allowed us to meet some of the obligations to our customers, sign new support contracts, et cetera. Anyway, we grew that company. I took it over in 2009, essentially, or reincorporated and brought the customers and employees in. And we grew that over the last 11 years to a $20 million company, over $3 million in EBITDA nationally. We did that through organic growth, as well as we made acquisitions in California and Texas. Anyway, so had a lot of success, a lot of bumps along the way. My business partner died along the way, and so that was a challenge. But in the end, we just had a real successful exit. We actually sold 80% of the business to private equity in December of 2020. Had a really great outcome, great valuation. I'm still the CEO of that company. I've rolled, some of my equity into that company, and we're having a lot of success. And we'll do this for the next 3 to 5 years, and perhaps do it again. That's what private equity does, right? To take the second bite of the apple and make more money. All along my life, I've been invested in real estate. We can talk about that in a little bit, but yeah, just everything from spec houses to land banking to commercial real estate to single family condos, small plexes. Really didn't know what the hell I was doing most of that time until a couple of years ago. I really started going up market with multifamily, did some apartment building investing, and then mobile home parks. That's really where I spend the bulk of my time, is in manufactured housing and mobile home park communities. And so on the side of Inflow, I have Cadia Capital, which is an investment company. We go out and we take down properties, and we have asset managers, and we raise capital and manage the managers, and we've had a lot of success with that. I have a business partner with that who's actually just joining GoBundance. His name is Mitchell England. He's a great dude.
Nice.
We should reach out to him. But that's basically it. Between investments that I have, or partners that I have right now, we have about 400 units across. I'm investing with my GoBros, investing with Cadia. So I'm kind of wearing the investor hat on the Cadia side, redeploying funds that I got from the sale of my company, as well as we have some equity partners. So yeah, it's been really successful and a lot of fun. How was that? Was that 3 minutes?
There is a ton to unpack. I'm going to try to do this as succinctly as possible, but a couple of things. When did you take over? You said 11 years. Is that around the time that you took over Inflow? Is that when you acquired it, or was it a few years before that?
I went to work for Inflow Systems in 2006 as a salesperson, and then And then in 2009 of November of 2009, that's when, the wheels flew off and the thing blew up. And so that's when I reincorporated as Inflow Communications Inc. Because there's a lien on all the assets. So I couldn't take the name, the phone number, the website, or anything. Hired a few, like 2 or 3 employees that were there, and then went out hat in hand to the customers, and some of them paid like money for phone systems, the $50,000 deposit that was then burned by the previous owner. So I had to come out of pocket and make it right with those people. But yeah, it was 2009.
All right. And when did you decide to go virtual? Was it right at that time?
Yeah, it was out of necessity. So the office was getting, we had to leave the office, right? We had to vacate. And so we all, set up shop at home, and one of my employees, he lived in an apartment, set up all the servers on his dining room table, and we went virtual that way, and we got more sophisticated over time. But yeah, we stayed virtual the whole time. So we grew. We have about 70 employees now, and we have employees across 14
Talk
states.
about being opportunistically ahead of the curve, though. I mean, so now you're selling your company, you're exiting, or to an extent. I mean, how much did that lean into the fact that you had systems and processes and a world and a culture built around virtual? Did that impact them? I'm sure it did.
You hit it.
How much did that impact your ability to exit?
It was actually a great question, because I remember when we started working with our bankers in like 2018 and preparing for it, I asked that question, is this going to be a problem? Because yeah, people are going to have a problem with it. And fast forward to 2020, and people are, it's the ability to build a company with the right cultures and the systems and the technology. The tech piece is like Zoom, and this is like half of it. The rest is how do you build culture and teams and the right people. And we're pretty maniacal about culture, and that's really why we're successful. But and we're also in the business of helping companies move to the cloud and digitally transform their businesses. So we were just kind of in the right place at the right time. I'd love to say I planned that, but no, that was luck.
It's better soundbite. Yeah, I was way ahead. I was thinking like Steve Jobs. You mentioned organic growth, and maybe this is because I don't know your space, but I wanted to ask this question. What does that look like, and what is the opposite in your space of organic growth? What does that look like?
So I'm talking about organic or inorganic, inorganic being M&A. So we made acquisitions as we grew. Organic growth is, I guess, to just sum what we did, we figured out that there was a lot of orphaned, troubled customers out there by other competitors. We knew why. There was reasons for it. That's a whole different podcast. And so we built a national sort of managed services practice around that, and then a national marketing program around thought leadership, search engine marketing, knowledge portal, et cetera, et cetera. And we just grew rapidly through that. So the organic piece was we actually grew faster organically than we did to our inorganic growth.
Nice. No, that's great. That's a good perspective. I just wanted to kind of, there was a couple check boxes on there I wanted to go through. Going back a little further, you joined the Air Force. Maybe you just skipped over it, but was college in there as well? Or were you just Air Force right into your own business?
Oh, great question. Yeah. So I got out. I got out of the high school. I graduated high school at 18. In Oregon, you don't really understand the military. You don't for those people that are in, that have been in the military or are in. You understand the enlisted and the officer ranks. I got in and I thought, oh crap! Like I should have become an officer. Like I'm getting my ass handed to me, and people are calling this guy sir and saluting him, and so I decided I'm going to make the military career. I'm going to become an officer, and I'm going to get my degree. So I never even took my SATs or anything in high school. So I started going to night school, and then I would deploy for 6-7 months at a time, and I would take all my correspondence courses. So back in those days, I'd pack VHS tapes on pallets, right? When we would deploy into the desert, we'd set all of our communications up, and then you just babysit it 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I'd take a full course load. So I actually got out of the military with a bachelor's degree through Embry-Riddle at 22. And then that degree has done absolutely nothing for me in my career, but it was nice to get. I guess it's on my shelf here. It looks great. It looks fantastic.
The reason I was going down that path, it's interesting you skipped over. Whether you have one or not is irrelevant. I don't have mine, but for you, it was more of a question of like, what do you think that is? Because I hear this from you, a lot of other guys in the group, a lot of entrepreneurs where I was just talking to my wife about this, the value on education, school education, formal education. I don't know. Talk a little bit about that for you. What was the experience? Why did you not even think maybe initially to go to college, right into the military? Was it just, I don't want to do this anymore? Did you have some foresight at that age that you didn't see how it served you? Just talk through that a little bit. I'm always interested in each entrepreneur's take on formal education.
Man, that's a beer conversation. I think a lot of higher education is great. I think a lot of it's freaking scam. But I just didn't have any money, right? I mean, I had no money. I came from a real not even middle class, probably maybe a little upper middle, lower class. I don't know. I didn't have any money. So but you're taught by everybody your whole life. You go to college. That's what you do. You go to college. You graduate college. And then you go get a job, become a corporate slave, give all your money to half your money to the government. What's left, give to Wall Street. Right? I could go on about it just makes my blood boil. But I just went in because I thought that's what I had to do. That's why I joined the military for college. And then when I got in, I thought, well, I want to be an officer. That looks really cool. And so there's nothing more sophisticated than that answer. And then 4 years came up and I was like, well, I need to get the hell out of this. I'm not doing a full career. And no offense to the military, but just wasn't, it wasn't for me. Yeah.
I get it. And I appreciate your services as many of us do, but no, it was just an interesting backstory. I was kind of curious about that because I hear that from a lot of folks. I just had Osborne on this podcast and he was talking about the same thing, like just value of education. Entrepreneurs tend to not really see much value in school. And I love hearing different perspectives on it.
I would say like college I look at like the reading and writing skills and the articulation skills that I had prior to college, and I was damn near illiterate. So I would say probably college was really good, and it was great for me to just sort of mature that way and, critical thinking and stuff. But yeah, it's great. You can get that in other places, right? Who's teaching business classes in college? People that didn't succeed in business, right? They're a professor. So most of the time, sorry if I'm offending any.
My wife's the academic, and I told her, I think I was in school, I was in college, and I lost it when I was in a class. I forget what it was, some literature class. And somebody straight face quoted LL Cool J with "Word is Bond," like as a Shakespearean reference in some way, shape, or form. Have no idea how they did it. I'm like, I was too immature, maybe. I just don't get it. I can't be here. This isn't my place. I'd rather go make money. I'd rather go make money doing something. So,
amen. Yeah.
To each their own, right? To each their own.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, all right, well, let's dive into your one sheet, the baseball card of your life. We're going to go through each pillar, starting with horizontal income. So what currently is your yearly horizontal income and how many lines of income is that?
Yeah. Horizontal income is about 33,000 a month. A little north of that. I mean, that ebbs and flows a bit, but about 400K a year. Okay. And a lot of that's sort of relatively new as I've sold the company and I'm deploying capital into, real estate investments and private notes and things like that. So about nine lines of income on the horizontal side.
How do you count those 9? Is it per property or is it properties in one LLC? Like, what are those 9? Just, you don't have every one, but how do you do that?
Per property, per private note. So, because if one property, I mean, that's in my mind, that's the way you're diversifying. You have, one property might sell and bring cash back in, but you still have other lines of income.
No, makes sense. What's your horizontal to net worth ratio as of right now?
Since I did just sell my company and I'm, pretty heavy in other areas right now, it's about just under 3%. So
okay. Yeah. Well, net worth is up, right?
My net worth is about 14 and a quarter.
Yeah. Roughly. Kudos to you, man. That's great. That's awesome. Nothing at all to be shy about. It's an incredible accomplishment. What percentage are you right now?
I'm I'm 133%. So roughly.
Very cool. So let's talk about net worth in real estate. How your assets break down. Like, how does your net worth break down? Real estate, private companies, and other asset classes that you might be in right now.
Yeah, great question. My real estate. My passion is real estate, so this is going to go up probably, but I'm about 38% real estate. Okay. Is my net worth. About just shy of 11%, 10.6% as the equity role of my private company inflow. So I still have a decent amount of net worth in that. And then I had a crap load of cash, so I needed to do something with it while I'm deploying it. So we're doing into real estate. So right now about 28% in stock and bond. This is brand new. So I'm working with KeyBank, which has been great. They're national. They got family wealth guys. But of that, I just deployed it. It's pretty bond heavy right now. I've not done a lot. I've got some in 401k and stuff, but I'm about 60% bond, 40% probably more conservative stocks. My mind's just, how do I curb against inflation and the devaluation of the dollar? What's cool about Key though is that I can set up a line of credit against what's happening in the market, and I can borrow against my own basically equity and stocks and bonds at like 2.6%. So then I can take that and deploy that out for various things. So I thought that was a cool way to approach.
Can you dig in a bit more on that? There's a few percentage points we've left on the table. My brain is going to, okay, I think I've added up to like 88%. There's a few percentage points. We'll cover that. But can you dive in a little bit on that strategy you just mentioned? And maybe like my brain heard it. You might have explained it and I skipped by it. Like my brain was processing it. But you said a pretty hefty bond allocation at you. Just talk to me about that strategy a little bit more. Like why that? Why bonds at this point, versus just, kind of being aggressive and going all in on whatever this market run up looks like?
That's a great question because I battled with that for quite some time. I've gone back and forth. I was 50-50 balanced. I was 60 equities, 40 bond. And this is philosophical, and people, I'm 43. I've got plenty of time left. I feel that a lot of the sort of the more risky side of my portfolio is in real estate, although it isn't, because it's high cash flow, high debt, high debt service coverage stuff. I think what it came down to is and maybe it's wrong, but I feel like the market's a little hot, a little too hot. And I feel like being a little heavier in bond, which is basically like cash, there is some yield there, and I'm not a bond expert by any means, but I feel like it's more just conservative to preserve what I have. And then I feel like if I can borrow against that and I can grow my real estate portfolio, then I can get my money working in 2 to 3 different places at the same time.
That's brilliant, man. And look, it's funny you said it. I like what you said. And it's a lesson for me and for a lot of people is it's just what I'm comfortable with. I remember Pat Hyben on something we were doing was asked, should you pay off your mortgage? And I was expecting him, like, because he's such a financial guy, to say absolutely not. And he didn't hesitate. He goes, yes. And they're like, oh, well, why? He goes, just nice to have a paid off mortgage, right? And I saw this other fairly prominent real estate investor recently do a post on Facebook about paying off his car. He's like, it doesn't make sense. It's not the financially prudent move. I just don't like having a car payment. So could I take the cash and apply it elsewhere? Yes, but I just don't like the car payment. Go ahead.
Well, I'm dealing with that same dilemma too, with my primary residence, and we just bought a vacation house with cash, and I'm trying to figure that out too. Like, I'm starting the process to put debt on it because I get it at 30-year AM at 2.6%, not even AMs, like 30-year note,
right?
At 2.6%, right? So it's tough for me. So I think I'm always like, the dad, which is the crazy side, the mom, which has always been the conservative side. So I'm like, well, what's the blend? Okay, well, maybe I just keep my LTV under 60% on stuff, right? And then I deploy that capital elsewhere. So, but yeah, by no means I don't have these hard and fast rules that I feel great by. It's been, especially this transition over this last year, has been a lot of sort of soul searching on, and that's kind of where I went heavier on bonds, because I'm going to have a line of credit against that. I'm going to be deploying that into real estate. And so I figured, well, let's go a little bond heavy, just really more preservation of capital. I think I've worked too damn hard for too damn long to get, and I also have sort of like I'm a little tainted on the equities market, right? Because I'm in the tech space and I see these CEOs that run these companies into the ground, get their parachutes, they bounce. And I'm just like, stock. I've never been like a stock guy. I'm kind of a Kiyosaki mindset. And so that's probably where I'm like, let's get it to work, because it's been in cash for the last few months, which has been driving me nuts. But let's make it a little more bond heavy. But I can, they're estimating a net of fees, between the bond and equity yield, like a 6%, which is, to me, that's great. It's better than what I was getting. And if I can borrow against that and go deploy it into assets that deliver, 10 to 20% cash on cash, 15 plus in the mobile home park space, and makes sense to me on the.
You're triple dipping essentially in that regard, which is great, right? You're leveraging your money 3 different ways. That's incredible. Yeah, it's the sleep at night standard, right? At the end of the day, you want to be able to sleep at night. That's what so for me, this is what I'm comfortable with: paid off vacation home, or, low leverage, under 60% LTV. Fine. Whatever works for you. It's the sleep at night standard. I like that. Let's round out the remaining 12%. What else is in your net worth?
Well, so let's say make sure my math is right, but I don't think this.
Did I get it wrong?
38% is in real estate. 10.6% is in private companies. 28% is in stocks and bonds. Where are we at?
I don't know. 48 plus 28, that's 50 plus 30.
So 38. Oh yeah, 30. Yeah.
So 6 minus 4. Did we get it all then? I think we got it all.
Well, I got
the college degree, man. I don't. So
you'll have to. Yeah, right. You'll have to edit this out. I was doing my math here. You can edit this part out on the podcast if you need. I got 38 in real estate. This should be right. 38 in real estate plus 10.6 in private companies is 40.6. I'm sorry.
48.6, right?
38 plus 10. I'll just round up as 48 plus 28 is so 28 in stocks and bonds. That puts me at 76%. That's
Oh,
what
so
I
I
came
was
in
off on that. It was
Yeah.
24% left.
I was like, damn, yeah. And so roughly 9% in cash, and you have the 15% in private notes. So
Got it. Okay, perfect. All right, yeah, we'll
see, I didn't
trim
skip
all
math
that.
class in college. It came in at, yeah.
You were taking bombs too, and in combat zones. So here you are doing. Yeah, that's why you're so good at math. That's
I
my
wasn't
excuse.
taking bombs, man. I was in a time where I'll throw that out. I didn't. Yeah, that part of it was pretty easy for
Peacetime.
me.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We'll scratch that last part, but and we'll keep going. All right, cool. So we got that debt to net worth. Don't worry, I'm not worried about that percentage we talked about. Cool. That's it. We'll move on to the next category. All right, let's
Great.
talk about age-defying health. How much do you weigh? Give me your height too. That gives me context, and body fat percentage.
Yeah, I'm about I'm short. I'm a little guy. I'm 5'6.5", and I weigh about 168 pounds. So I've always been more, a little stockier. So my body fat percentage, I don't know exactly what it is, but I would say it's probably in the 15%. 15 to 17%. I can improve upon that. I just like pizza and I like beer, so
Okay.
that makes it tough.
You're not as much. I'm a rum and coke guy, but I'm very similar. 5'7", 160-ish. So not too far off of you. I'm a little guy as well. Not 4'7", like you were 4'6",
Yeah.
but 5'7". So
Yeah.
talk about daily diet. Is it pizza and beer every day?
No, I'm about 80% clean Monday through Friday. So I try and also do more plant-based. So like my Monday through Friday is pretty regimented, and so I try and keep it plant-based and pretty clean. But like last night, oh, you want to grab some pizza? Sure. Oh, you're at pizza. Let's have a beer. So my diet is I work out a lot, and I work out too hard to just kind of screw it off with that. So that's a nemesis or an Achilles heel of mine.
I feel you. The weekends can be like last night, same thing. It was like, you know what? Why not get ice cream, right? Like we've already eaten
Right.
bad for dinner. Why not get the ice cream on top of it? I try to avoid sugar, but I'm with you on that. It's tough. So you mentioned a tough exercise. What does that look like? What's your exercise routine?
I've always been into fitness. So what I do now, I used to do a lot of heavier weights when I was young and stupid with bad form. And so I have some back issues because of that. But now it's more, I pretty much alternate. I'll try and get 4 to 6 days a week in, and I'll alternate. So one day will be strength. And really what I've been doing, I do a lot of push-ups and pull-ups, just a lot of variation. So actually I'll do circuit training between like wide grip pull-ups and narrow grip and underhand and push-ups, and I'll mix and I'll cycle core into that, and I keep it cadence pretty high to keep my heart rate up. I'll do that for about 45 minutes, and then the alternate days, I love mountain biking. I'm in like a mountain biking mecca here, so I have Peloton, and I'll do like a 30 to 45 minute HIIT ride, but it also includes weights, so I can sort of get more of the bicep, tricep, shoulder stuff in. But then now that the weather's getting better, I'll get out and mountain bike, and my goal is to try and get yoga in later on in the day, 20 to 30 minutes, 3 days a week.
I like it. You said, it's funny. I smirked a bit. You mentioned about your diet, liking pizza and all that. And then you mentioned I'm into fitness. You've heard the joke, right? Like you just kind of set up the joke. I'm really into fitness. Yeah. Fitness pizza in my mouth. No, you never heard that?
No, I haven't heard that. That's great.
So that is
Yeah.
you. That's how I'm going to remember you from
I
now
was
on.
last night. Yeah. Who doesn't like pizza, man? Jeez. How do you?
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed. And for everyone listening, you can have that one.
Yeah, that's a great one.
All right, let's talk about your family a little bit. You mentioned before we started recording, you're married. Tell me about wife, kids, anything like that you have going on.
Yeah, I have a wife. She's a real estate agent, which I'm finding out a lot of wives in GoBundance are real estate agents, and she's a badass. She has a team here in the Hood River, and we're about an hour east of Portland. And everybody's vacating Portland because Portland's a SHIT show, and so she's crushing it. And I have a 5-year-old daughter named Henley and a 6-year-old son.
Very cool. Wow, close, huh? We've knocked them out.
15 months apart. Yeah, the first one was planned. The second one, that was the Seahawks lost the Super Bowl, and it was more we were trying to quench or subdue our depression.
Hopefully she doesn't listen to this podcast for a long time, until she's past teen years. And
best mistake ever, right? I was a mistake. My older sister is 17 months older than me, and I have a twin sister. So, I have my parents had 3 kids in diapers. So
Yeah. Yeah. I was years after the second kid. So I think my mom calls me a miracle. I think code for mistake, I think. So very
Right. There
nice
you
of
go.
her though.
Yeah.
Well, how about on your one sheet? What does your life happiness index look like?
I would say, this is it's not high. It's 7 probably is where 7.5. And the primary reason for that, a couple of reasons. One, I've been so just charging hard my whole life. And everything I've ever done initially started out of competition. Like I'm gonna right, yeah, I can't pay for college. Well, watch this. Oh, really? I didn't get the trust fund. Well, watch this. And that served me well through my 20s and 30s. And now now it's just like I don't know how to turn it off. And so it's hard for me to relax. It's hard for me just to turn it off, shut it down, and really relax. And so that ties into sort of my relationship and my family. I want to be more plugged into family. I want to have more free time. I want to enjoy life more, right? And I have to be very mindful about that. And I think the other thing that's tying into the 7 too is you work. I've planned on building a company and selling it my whole life, and I finally did it. And it's like, what happens when your dreams come true and it's not quite like you thought, and it's not a bad thing, but it's the same. And I think the fact I always had this vision that I was just going to sell the company and be done and go kite surf and it was going to be great. Well, I'm the CEO now, and now we're doing more acquisitions and we're busy, and I've got a private equity and I've got a board. And so it's like, I've just struggled a little bit through a little bit of depression, kind of thinking through this isn't quite how I envisioned what this life changing event would be, but I'm working through it.
Yeah, you're at this point of trying to define the next level. I heard somebody talk about this, like when you have a goal, often when you achieve that goal and you don't have a goal lined up behind it or something that you're, the next thing to aspire to, you just said it, it's sort of like, okay, now what? But, I would bet that you're a guy that's probably incapable of retiring to a beach somewhere and just riding out life on Mai Tais. So you're just trying to find that next sort of passion play, whatever that's going to be, it sounds like.
And I even know what that is. It's investing in mobile home parks and building Cadia Capital and building the real estate side out. It's just but this, the CEO thing, hopefully the board isn't listening right now. It's a CEO thing, and I love that part of it too, but it's just it's a bit of soul searching. And a lot of people are probably thinking, oh, boo-hoo, really boo-hoo. But, I'm just being honest.
So. That's the at a different level, you hear about athletes who feel pressure from making 50 million, and we would always laugh at them, but you're still human. There's a pressure to that, internally you feel what you feel. And we talked about me exiting my job, and that's exactly what it was. It just, there was a hollowness. I make a good income, I could ride it out, I could slug through. I mean, I'm good at what I do, but it's just time to make that next leap. And for me, I know that, at 85, me looking back is not going to say, man, I wish you would have just played it safe and kept doing the same thing. They would say, why didn't you were only in your early 40s, same age as you, 42. Why didn't you just take a leap? Like, you were 42, you had plenty of time to recover if something went sideways. So
when it's tough for me, because I don't need the salary. Right.
Yeah.
And so, I don't need that. And so it's tough for me to, and I've done it my whole life. I've been in communication since I was 18. So I'm ready for a change, but I'm not quite there yet. So I'm just, I'm not going on, private equity, they'll sell us again, and I won't be a part of that transaction. That's probably 3 years or 2.5 years. And so will I just exit out of the CEO role, move to the board before that? There's a good chance, probably.
Interesting.
Well, I haven't had that conversation with my private equity bosses yet, but
thinking about it. Yeah. No one would fault you for that. It's a reasonable thing to think about. All right, let's talk about contribution. What is your give back ratio, or if it's easier, just kind of what are your contributions per year, and where do you spend that?
This is an area I can improve upon. I've not been a great giver. I would say last year I was a 4% contribution guy. I would say since then I feel better. I have big goals around that, and I've already met all of my contribution goals for 2021. I've funded all my kids and my nieces and nephews' college. So to me, that's more meaningful than giving it to some nonprofit, where the CEOs.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. So again, we had this conversation about college, right? But I was like, how can I help these? Because they're all from this small town, and their parents don't have the resources and I didn't have, and so I just feel like checking that box for them, regardless of what direction they go, is really critical. So I wanted to do something creative, well, let's buy you all houses, and you have to manage your rental properties, and I'll read this Kiyosaki book. And I was like, I just fund the 529 plans. And but it meant a lot to him, like, because it's almost more for my sisters, right? Because they've really stressed out about being able to provide for their kids. So I feel better about my contribution.
I would. Just because it's not a deduction or a tax write-off per se. It's not like you're
Yeah.
donating to an actual charity. Doesn't mean it's not contribution. That's incredible. You just set up a generation potentially
Yeah.
for another way. To your point, college, whether we love it, don't love it. We had our conversation at the beginning, kind of mocking it a little bit, but for some people, it is a pathway. For a lot of people, it is a pathway out of whatever they know, and they get exposure to something much bigger than where they are. So that's an incredible gesture on your part. I just want to make sure you get honored for that. That's amazing. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the least I could do. They're great kids, and my sisters are great. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's talk about accountability. Who is in your GoPod? You actually have an epic GoPod. So why don't you tell everybody who's in your GoPod?
I've got David Downs, Luther Hagen, Nigel Gussinger. Did I get that? Shane Swansburg. So
Yep. Yeah.
Swanberg.
Very cool pod. We
Sorry,
had
Shane.
Luther. We had
Yeah.
Luther. We had Luther on not long ago, and he talked a little bit about your pod, and we'll get into that in a sec. But just tell me kind of how often are you meeting, and what are you discussing currently?
Yeah, we're pretty religious. We do a Monday morning, 8 o'clock Monday morning meeting, and it's all been, it's been virtual up to this point. Everybody else in my pod except me, my wife was freaked out by COVID when it first happened, so I stayed home, but they all went to Luther's place. They called it Hagen's Haven, his lake house, and had a blast. And we're actually getting ready to go to Puerto Rico. I am going on that this month. Towards the end of this month, we're all going to go down and mastermind with David down in Puerto Rico. So I'm really excited for that.
Cool.
And yeah, what we're talking about, a lot of it's just check-ins and the good, the bad, and the ugly. And what's kind of been cool with our pod though is we're starting to do business together. So
that's what I was going to ask you about. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the whole pod went in on a 91 unit apartment building that David and Nigel are sort of sponsoring. I think Luther found it though. Luther's a maniac. I don't know. That guy has so much energy. I've never experienced anything like it. And so we all went on that. And then I'm personally investing in a I think it's like a 52 unit with again, Nigel and David found it, and I'm just sort of a kind of a passive investor, JV on that. And then Luther on the other side, he actually went and found a mobile home park for Cadia. And so he came as an investor for Cadia Capital, our investment group, on this mobile home park in North Carolina. And we're about ready to close on another one in North Carolina that we found through a wholesaler that Luther's come in as an equity partner. So it's pretty cool.
Power
I'm
proximity,
excited for that.
man.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's incredible. Wow. All right, let's jump over to bucket list adventures. What trips for GoBundance, if any, have you been on so far?
Sorry, guys, 0. But
going to be Puerto Rico soon, though. That's a GoBundance.
Well, that's with my pod. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be going to I've wanted to go on these trips more than anything. But I live in my hometown now, and I've got an older family, so my parents are here. So I've been pretty conservative on travel-ish.
Sure.
But I'm over it now, so I'm going to Puerto Rico, and I'll be going to the next GoBundance trips.
Nice,
so
good. And see you in Colorado then.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. That's awesome. How about some of your past greatest hits? What are 2, 3 of your past greatest hits?
Oh, I wrote this down here. Past greatest hits. That's more bucket list, right? Like live life big. It's not like selling your company, which is huge, but
that is big. That's living big. Sure, that's a big hit. Yeah, whatever you want to do.
Traveling. A few years ago, I went with my buddies. We did Rome and Spain, Italy and Spain, which was cool. I love traveling. Haven't done it as much. I like to do more of it. I did an Australia trip many, many years ago. We just bought a vacation house in Palm Springs, which is, if you know the Northwest, it gets gray and nasty here. So 2-hour flight, and we got a really cool house on a 25-acre man-made lake with an electric boat that we can have cocktails on. It has a pool and a hot tub, and so I've just never done anything like that. And so I would say that's recent for me.
Amazing. No, that's good. And what's coming up? What's the next 3 greatest hits that you're going to have?
Something that's really important to me, again, as soon as I can get the green light with COVID, I'm a big World War II history guy, and I know my dad's a Vietnam vet. He was a Marine, and so we both share sort of military interests and stuff like that. And I want to take him on a Band of Brothers tour to Europe. So we hit Normandy, and you go to Bastogne and Berlin, and So I want to do that with my pops. I offered him like, hey, do you want to go back to Vietnam? He's like, nah, decided I'd never want to go there again. So that, and I also want, I've learned to kite surf. So I live in Hood River, which is probably close to Maui, one of the top kite surfing places in the world. And so I learned how to do it last summer. And so I want to go on like a kite surf, like a month kite surfing vacation, like Turks and Caicos or somewhere Aruba or somewhere cool. I was just sort of thinking these things off the top of my head. I know you said 3, but I got 2 more. I really I play drums and I'm crappy at it. I'd love to be in like a real shitty cover band. I think that I've always thought that would be so fun to like have a group that you play and perform. And this is going to sound very cliche, and it might not ever happen, but I'd like to have a private plane. I just,
Nothing wrong
for a
with
lot
that,
of reasons.
man. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, David Osborne talks about the flexibility it gives him, but some guys just love flying. They just love being up in the air. So good for you, man. And you will have that private plane. I have no doubt, based on the trajectory you've gone through. My goodness. Yeah, you're tracking toward, not away from that. So very, very cool. On the World War II thing, have you ever been to the museum in New Orleans, the World War II Museum in New Orleans?
No,
I didn't realize the National World War II Museum is there. I was there for a work trip and somebody told me about it. It used to be, it's where the boats that stormed Normandy were built. I forget what those are called, but those boxes that the front door opened up.
Oh yeah, the troop transport crafts. Yeah.
Yeah. I forget what they're called, but they were built there. A museum was built for those, and it kind of expanded until finally the National Archives or whomever dubbed it the National World War II Museum. It is an emotional experience like I'm not a big museum guy or even a history buff or anything, but I did it because I was there and it was unbelievable. So highly recommend it.
Yeah. The last time I was in New Orleans, I was stationed in Biloxi, and we did Mardi Gras there, and there was no museum.
Yeah.
We were just drinking our butts off.
There's one there now off of St. Peter, I think it is, or something like that. So it was a good time. Highly recommend. But cool. Well, we're going to wrap this up with a random question from the GoBundance app, the card game, which you can download in Google Play, iTunes, anywhere else that you want to find it. We got the Ace of Clubs. I don't know if you talked about this. I'm going to ask it anyway. The question is, what did you want to be when you were a kid?
Well, when I was real young, I wanted to work at McDonald's because I loved our hamburgers.
You got the thing going right now.
Right. Yeah. You want fries with that? You want to supersize it? I don't think they don't supersize things anymore. So when I was really little, that's what I wanted to do. And then when I was in high school, I actually worked for the radio station, and I was a disc jockey and had a radio show, and it was like I made minimum wage and it was the best job of my life ever. And so I wanted to go into broadcasting, and then promptly joined the military and didn't do that. But yeah, McDonald's worker and then a radio DJ.
I love it, man. Incredible. Great story. It's been a real pleasure getting to know you, honestly. And
yeah, you too, man.
Where can people learn more about you? Do you have an Instagram handle, an email you want to put out there, a website, anything that people can learn more about what you do and your companies do?
Yeah, sure. You can email me at tdillard@inflowcommunications.com. That's I as in Indigo, N as in Nancy, F as in Frank, L as in Lima, O as in Oscar, W as in Whiskey, and the word communications.com. You can also go to CadiaCapitalGroup.com. That's our real estate investing. And I have an email address for Cadia Capital. I just don't remember it off the top of my head. But I don't have I'm not like a big social media guy. I have like 500 requests to connect with me on LinkedIn. I probably should, jump on that. I hired a personal assistant. Maybe she can help me out with that. But yeah, email is probably best. Inflow Communications is our website. But yeah, anybody from doors open for anybody in GoBundance. I love connecting.
Beautiful. Well, thanks again, man. Great connecting with you. And yeah, we'll talk soon.
All right. Appreciate it, Jamie. Take care.